From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your routine Thursday briefing for Central North Carolina. And this briefing covers the period today through the 25th of August. And let's go ahead and look at current conditions. And a couple things probably jump out at you right away. And feature number one is Henry. There's Henry. There is a cold front that's basically to our west, and we've got clear skies over our area, and it's pretty hot ahead of the front as it normally is typically, particularly this time of year too. So anyway. Let's see. So first of all, the Henry, that's its forecast track, and from the National Hurricane Center, and you could see the categories that it's forecast to be. So that's Henry. Now the big story with Henry is, of course, the winds. Which way do winds go around hurricanes in the northern hemisphere? They rotate around this way. So there's a lot of wave energy headed towards the coast, and this is wave energy, not the direction that it's moving. There's a lot of swells and a lot of wave energy that's going to impact the beaches, and so while the storm is going to take this track, there's going to be wave energy that's kind of impacting the beaches. And basically coming ashore, long period swells, and we're talking major rip current threat here along the Carolina beaches starting tomorrow and lasting through basically this weekend. So if you or of anybody who's headed to any of the beaches along the Carolina coast, definitely take precautions. Swim at beaches where there's lifeguards. Encourage those who are going to the beaches to swim where there's lifeguards. And basically, if you're not a good swimmer, just stay out of the water altogether, especially Friday and Saturday when the rip currents will be at their worst. So dangerous surf as well, pounding surf. So probably just a good idea for just everybody to stay out of the water over the next couple of days, as lots of wave energy from Henry is going to be impacting the coast. All right. So what else do we got going on here? We've got, as I pointed out, the cold front to our west. We've got temperatures climbing through the mid and upper 80s, headed toward 90 and higher. Here are current heat index values. We're already exceeding 100 across the coastal plain. Parts of the I-95 corridor in terms of heat index. So it is yet again another hot and sticky day out there. So that's our main weather story for today, in addition to the rip current threat. That is, prolonged exposure to heat could lead to dehydration, overheating, heat illness, and even death. So you want to take extra precautions, limit any outside work or activities, wear lightweight, loose-fitting clothing when possible, and drink plenty of water. So that is the weather story for today. Hot, humid, high heat indices. So that's the thing we need to be cognizant of. Make sure you practice heat safety, stay hydrated, check up on elderly, those who are sick, and those without air conditioning. Make sure they're okay. Never leave kids or pets unattended. Look before you lock, as we say, and limit strenuous outdoor activities. Find shade. Stay hydrated. These are all basic things that heat-related deaths are preventable. So we could all take some basic steps to protect ourselves and others during heat waves. All right. The other thing, again, just want to reiterate one more time. It's worth reiterating. Henry, Tropical Storm Henry, is going to become a hurricane over the next, 24 hours or so. It's going to send some strong wave energy back to the coast, the North Carolina beaches. So life-threatening surf and rip currents at the North Carolina and South Carolina beaches this weekend. So I've already gone over all of these safety tips And just again, keep that in mind. And another reason why I'm spending so much time on this topic, you're probably wondering, well, heck, we're in Central North Carolina. We don't have the beach next to us. But guess what? As it turns out, this graphic shows the hometowns of people who have died in rip currents in the last 20 years. So the hometowns, these are rip current fatalities that have happened in North Carolina and South Carolina. Not rip current fatalities, say, in the Gulf Coast or Florida or the New England coast. These are North Carolina and South Carolina rip current fatalities in the last 20 years and where these folks lived. And look at how I would say the vast majority of the people who died from rip currents at the Carolina beaches in the last 20 years, their hometowns were right here in Central North Carolina. So we need to try to really get the word out, even though we're, a couple hundred miles from the actual coastline. The people who live around here vacation at the coast, and oftentimes are the ones who succumb to rip currents. So please help us spread this safety message to folks in your sphere of influence. If you know anybody headed to the beach, just remind them of the dangers of rip currents and dangerous surf. All right, and how to stay safe. All right. So moving on to the rest of the weather pattern, an upper ridge over the western Atlantic will give us hot and humid conditions today. I already mentioned the heat indices exceeding 100. But keep in mind that weak front that I pointed out too at the beginning of this briefing may also bring us some scattered to locally numerous showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. So don't be surprised if you get impacted by a storm later today. That front will meander over our region, giving us more widespread coverage of showers and storms tomorrow, especially across the northeast Piedmont, the Sandhills region, and the coastal plain. Those will be the areas of North Carolina that have the greatest coverage of storms tomorrow. And then we're going to keep scattered showers and storms in the forecast this weekend, mainly coastal plain and Sandhills, but the coverage will be more scattered, will be lesser. And even lesser yet as we head into early next week, thanks to high pressure building in. So early next week, again, a widely scattered, isolated shower, thunderstorm, highs in the upper 80s to lower 90s each day, very summer-like. Okay, so that's the pattern for us in terms of rainfall amounts. 1/4 to a half inch are expected today, as much as a half inch to an inch tomorrow. Always, anytime there's thunderstorms, there could be locally higher amounts, where heavier storms occur or where storms train. But then as we get into early next week, we'll be looking at lesser rain amounts. But when you add up 7-day amounts, we're looking at about a half inch to 1.5 inches. So that's the way things are shaping up. So I would say pretty normal amounts of rainfall for this time of year for the next 7 days. All right, and given that risk of heavy rainfall, there could be some isolated instances of flash flooding tomorrow across central North Carolina, with scattered flash flooding possible basically east of I-95. So that's the deal tomorrow. This graphic, like I said, just shows the risk or likelihood, if you will, of flash flooding developing. So the highest risk for flash flooding will be in the northeast part of the state tomorrow, but really anywhere across North Carolina. All right, in terms of severe thunderstorm activity, we're not expecting any organized severe storms across central North Carolina the next several days. And looking further down the road, the 8 to 14-day outlook for the very last few days of August, suggests that temperatures will be cooling down basically north of us and still kind of hot south of us. And we're kind of in that transition zone. You see how it transitions from blue to our north to orange to our south on the graphic on the left. That's temperatures. Oftentimes when you're in the transition zone, frequently you find yourselves getting rain, periods of rain. So no surprise there that the 8 to 14 days shows above normal favored precipitation for that same time period. All right, so that wraps up our briefing for this Thursday. As we head into the weekend, we're thinking about heat today, 100 to 105 heat indices today, and then there'll be scattered locally numerous showers and storms this afternoon and evening. No surprise there with the heat and humidity. A little bit better coverage of storms tomorrow, especially once you get across the northeast portions of the state and east of I-95. And then scattered showers and thunderstorms will be possible this weekend and into early next week, but coverage will be lessening a little bit with typical summertime temperatures as we head into early next week. So I would say it's pretty typical as you look at the bottom and look at the numbers and you look at the rain chances. I think you'll find that that's fairly typical for this time of year, although rain chances are a little bit above normal tonight, Friday, and Friday night. But once we get past tomorrow, again, pretty typical coverage of afternoon and evening showers and storms with typical temperatures for this time of year, if not a bit above normal temperatures. So again, be sure to practice heat safety today, and really right through the forecast period, quite frankly, with lots of humidity around. Again, watch out for the risk of flash flooding, isolated instances of that, best chance across the coastal plain. We can never rule out a scattered gusty wind with any of the stronger thunderstorms, but those will be fairly isolated. And probably the biggest threat, the biggest life-threatening threat weather-wise will be the rip currents at the North Carolina and South Carolina beaches tomorrow right through the weekend. So if you or anybody headed to the beach, remind them that things could be really, really dangerous in the water and the ocean at the beaches. Basically, this weekend's a good time to maybe take a walk on the beach, walk the pier, enjoy some local foods and such. But swimming is probably not the best idea at the beach this weekend. There's lots of other things to do at the beach, but swimming's probably not the best idea. All right, so that wraps up our weekly briefing for Central North Carolina for this Thursday.